Good day everyone. Now let's tackle about chapter 9 entitled Statistical Inference of Two Sample and its subtopic, the inference on the difference in means of two normal distribution. Variance is unknown. In this chapter we have the objectives is to identify situations in which the Z or T distribution may be used to approximate a sampling distribution, construct a confidence interval to estimate the difference in two population proportion and two population means using minitab given summary or raw data. Lastly, conduct a hypothesis test for two proportion and two means using minitab given summary or raw data. Next, we have the statistical inference and its definition. Statistical inference consists in the use of statistics to draw conclusion about some unknown aspects of a population based on a random sample from that population. Some preliminary conclusion may be drawn by the using of engineering data analysis or by the computation of summary statistics as well. But formal statistical inference uses calculations based on probability theory to substantiate those calculations. Statistical inference can be divided into two areas: estimation and hypothesis testing. In estimation, the goal is to describe an unknown aspects of a population. Estimation can be of two types: point estimation and interval estimation, depending on the goal of the application. Next, the goal of hypothesis testing is to decide which of two complementary statements about a population is true. And next we have the assumptions. First, x sub 11, x sub 12, and x sub n sub 1 is a random sample from a population 1. Next, x sub 21, x sub 22, and x sub 2 sub n is a random sample from a population 2. Next, the two populations represented by the x sub 1 and x sub 2 are independent. Lastly, both populations are normal. In this chapter, we will be using 4 steps hypothesis testing procedure for this lesson. So, ito itong mga steps. Step number 1, the null and alternative hypothesis. So dito sa null and alternative hypothesis, meron tayong mu sub 1 minus mu sub 2 is equals to 0 for the null hypothesis, and mu sub 1 minus mu sub 2 less than, greater than, or not equal 0 for the alternative hypothesis. For our step 2, meron tayong the test statistics is c sub 0 is equals to y bar sub 1 minus y bar sub 2 multiplied by negative 0 all over by square root of sigma sub 1 squared over n sub 1 plus sigma sub 2 squared over n sub 2. So dito sa step 2 natin, ito na yung mismong formula na gagamitin dito sa chapter. And for the step 3 natin, sa p-value, for the test alternative hypothesis, meron tayong mu sub 1 less than mu sub 2. P-value is equals to probability of z less than c sub 0. For the next alternative hypothesis, mu sub 1 greater than mu sub 2, p-value is equals to probability of z greater than c sub 0. And for the last test of hypothesis testing, we have mu sub 1 is not equal mu sub 2, p-value is equals to p is equals to 2 probability of z less than minus the absolute value of c sub 0. And sa ating last step, we have a decision and conclusion. For the better understanding for this lesson, we have prepared a sample problem. So here's our example. product developer is interested in reducing the drying time of the primer paint. Two formulations of the paint are tested. Formulation 1 is the new standard chemistry, and Formulation 2 has a new drying ingredient that should reduce the drying time. From experience, it is known that the standard deviation of the drying time is 8 minutes, and this inherent variability should be unaffected by the addition of the new ingredient. 10 specimens are painted with Formulation 1, and another 10 specimens are painted with Formulation 2. The 20 specimens are painted in random order. The two sample average drying times are y bar sub 1 is equals to 121 minutes and y bar sub 2 is equals to 112 minutes respectively. What conclusion can the product developer draw about the effectiveness of the new ingredient using our alpha is equals to 0.05? So ito natin solution sa step-by-step solution. So step 1, we have the state hypothesis. For the null hypothesis, we have mu sub 1 minus mu sub 2 is equals to 0. And the alternative hypothesis, we have mu sub 1 is greater than mu sub 2. So ating step 2, we have the statistics. By its formula, z sub 0 is equals to x bar sub 1 minus x bar sub 2 minus 0 all over square root of sigma sub 1 squared over n sub 1 plus square root of sigma sub 2 squared over square root of n, where sigma sub 1 squared is equals to sigma sub 2 squared is equals to 8 squared equals to 64, and the n sub 1 is equals to n sub 2 is equals to 10. So next, step 3, we have the p-value. Reject null hypothesis if mu sub 1 is equals to mu sub 2 if the p-value is less than 0.05. So nakuha natin ang mga given sa ating mga question, then we'll plug in na lang natin sa may formula. Sa ating computation, we have g sub 0 is equals to 121 minus 112 all over the square root of 8 squared over 10 plus square root of 8 squared over 10. So through calculations, nakuha natin is 2.52. For the last steps, we have the decision and conclusion. Since z sub 0 is equals to 2.52, the p-value is p is equals to 1 minus phi multiplied by 2.52 is equals to 0.0059. So we reject the null hypothesis at the alpha is equals to 0.05 level. So that's all for this chapter. Thank you.